Good afternoon. This is the online tutorial class on Unit 6 and about the characteristic of risk and return. Okay, first question. Why the percentage return more useful measure than the dollar return? Okay, and that's why you are required to compare two kinds of the return. One is percentage return and the other one is the dollar return. Okay, and you can make use of a simple example to illustrate. Okay, for the first one, for the dollar return, is focused on the absolute value and the dollar, and let you know about how much money you got from your investment. Okay, that's why so simple. Assume that you invest in A and B, both give you $100. Using the dollar return, it seems that both A and B will be the same. That will give you the same return. But if you want to compare, you just focus on the dollar return, you will be mislead you or not detailed enough. And that's why most often we'll take the percentage return in addition to evaluate of the investment. Okay, assume that you invest 1,000 in A, but for B you invest 5,000. And because of that, although they give you the same dollar return, $100, but if you convert it into percentage, and for A, and this is 10%, but for B, there is just 2% only. Okay, that's why we can compare that. A, the percentage return is much higher than B. It gives you a better result. And that's why for percentage return is easier to compare and let you have a better understanding. Okay, second questions. How do we define risk in this chapter and how do we measure it? That's why you should define risk and then how to measure. Okay, and according to that, risk is defined as the volatilities of the asset's return over time. That means the fluctuation of the return in different time series. And specifically, you'll find that most often we'll use the standard deviation of the return to measure the risk. And because that is based on how the return is deviate from the average. And that's why if this is more fluctuate, and that stands for a higher volatilities. And a higher volatility does mean that will be quite easy to deviate from the average. And that will be possibly the return is out of your expectations. And if that is out of your expectation, it is the risk. And that is the most common approach to measure the risk. And most often we'll use the standard deviation. Okay, third question. Number 4. What are the two components of the total risk? Which component is part of the risk-return relationship and why? Okay, first of all, we need to define risk have two components. There are two. One is what we call the firm-specific risk, and the other one is a market risk. But you may also give the other name, avoidable or unavoidable, okay, or systematic or unsystematic. They are the same, but no matter how. Okay, that is the two kinds of risk. And you will find that for the first one, firm-specific risk, that can be eliminated by diversification. Okay, that's why diversification means you may hold different kind of the investment, not just one. And also, you will find that if you hold more different kind of the investment, the risk of this firm will be diversified away. The more you hold, the lower the firm-specific risk that will have. But you will find that down to a certain level, that cannot be diversified anymore. What is behind? That will be the market risk. And you will find that the market risk cannot be diversified away. Every firm will be subject to or exposure to this kind of risk. And because of that, you will find that what you get the return, basically, that will be the risk that you will get the return or reward. Okay, that is the relationship. Okay, and because of that, market risk is the risk return relationship. Number 4, question 8. What does the coefficients of variations measure? Why is the lower value better for investor? Now, first of all, you should identify what is coefficients of variation, and you give the formula first. That will be COV equal to standard deviations over the average return. Okay, that's why. Because of that, you can also create a simple illustration. Let's say one company have a standard deviation of 4, and the average return is 4, and that will be equal to 0.25. And the other one, let's say, is 2, and the return is 5, and it gives you 0.4. Okay, by looking at that, this one is smaller. That is better. Why? It indicates that has a better risk and return relationship. Okay, because you will find that for the return, okay, and for this one, the risk is lower comparatively for every return, and compared to the second one, that will be much higher in relationship. Okay, that's why the figure showing the smaller value, that will give you a better relationship between the risk and return. Okay, question 10. What does diversification do to the risk and return characteristic of a portfolio? Now, that is about 2 parts. Diversification due to the risk and the return. Now, you should separate to discuss on that. Okay, because of that, diversification basically does lead to the return of the portfolio. That means it doesn't help much on the return. If you diversify your investment, it doesn't help you to get better return much. But on the other hand, diversification can do much more for reducing the risk. That means if you hold different kind of the investment, and under different situation, different economic situation, this kind of the diversification can reduce risk to a great extent, and the overall risk will be reduced, and finally the result will be much better. Okay, that's why you will find that you should distinguish the two kind of the items related to the implication of the diversification. Okay, and diversification just do much on the risk level, and but for return it doesn't do much. Okay, it doesn't do much on the return. Okay, next one is about the risk versus return, and asking to rank 3 different kinds of stock by their risk and return relationship, best to worst. Okay, and given you the information about their average return and the standard deviations. Now, that's why you need to work out the risk and return relationship by the coefficients of variations, the COV. Okay, that means you work out each of that one by one. Okay, for light rider, this one, and you will find that has a 29 standard deviation, and the return is 13, and 29 over 13, the figure will be 2.23. While the whole mark, you have 25 standard deviation, average return is 11. That's why it gives you 2.27. And then foot 5, you have the standard deviation of 40. The return is 16, and it gives you the coefficient of variation is 2.5. And according to the previous question, the risk and return relationship will be the smaller the figure, the better the relationship. Okay, that's why according to the question, you are required to rank best to the worst. That's why the best one, that should be this one. This will be number 1, the best one. Second one, that will be this one. The third one will be this one. Okay, and the smaller the figure, the better relationship between the return and the risk. Okay, then another one is about the average return, and let you know about the past 5 months result of the PGE. And one of the figure is negative in first year, second year is positive, third year positive, fourth year positive, final year also positive. But no matter how, for the average return, okay, we just add up all of them together, and there are 5 in total. We get the average divided by 5, and that will be 2.906. Now that is the average return, or the other name for this one is arithmetic average return. Arithmetic average return. Possibly you will find that some of the figure that is negative that will set off the result. Okay, that's why we have another one that will be the geometric average return. That will be much better. Okay, but no matter how, that will be the common approach being used by most of the managers. Okay, now we look at the second one. Second questions, that will be the standard deviation, and ask you to compute the standard deviation of the same company, PGE, and we have already worked out the average, right? And that's why every figure will minus the average to the square, add them up, and according to the standard deviation equation. Okay, that's why every figure you will minus the average, square it, okay, and then add them up and divide it by n minus 1. Now remember, n minus 1, that is the sample only, not the populations. Okay, that's why it should be n minus 1. There are 5 figures, that's why 5 minus 1. And the standard deviation for this PGE company will be 3.6. Okay, and that is a standard deviation, 3.6. Okay, then another questions, that is the portfolio return. Now at the beginning of the month, you own 5,500 of General Dynamics, 7,500 Starbucks, 8,000 of Nike, and the monthly return for General Dynamics, Starbucks, and Nike were 7.44%, negative 1.36%, and negative 0.54% respectively. And what is your portfolio return? That means, first of all, you need to work out the weighted average of each of the investment. Okay, first of all, what will be the total amount of your portfolio? And you have so much invest in General Dynamics, and then Starbucks, and then Nike, and the total value will be 21,000. Okay, according to that, you need to work out the weighted average percentage of each of them. Okay, General Dynamic, that will be 0.2619 or 26%, 26.19%. Starbucks, 0.3571 or 35.71%. And Nike, that will be 38 0.1%. Okay, you may convert it percent or even decimal figures. Okay, then according to that, that will be weighting, and each of the investment. Then each of the investment you times the concerning weighting. For example, for the uh, that should be the General Dynamics. Okay, and then the second one is Starbucks, and then the last one is Nike. Okay, and you will make use of that to work out the overall average of your portfolio, and your portfolio percentage return is at around 1.26%. Okay, 1.26%. That is the portfolio return. Okay, that's all for all the tutorial question. If you have any question, you may ask me through the chat room.